welcome to a live stream of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. We are also recording it. It will be on YouTube as well if you miss it live, and as well as an audio version on Anchor. But I am Gary Mack, and I'm joined today, as usual, by the great Rich Baxter of Phillies Talk. Rich, how are you today?
Good afternoon. How you doing, Gary? Nice to talk to you. Thanks for the introduction. Doing great. And how about that Field of Dreams game? Did you catch any of it?
I caught a little bit of it. It's something special. It's pretty nice, but I got to tell you, I'm more interested in the stuff going around the game than I was in the game itself. Cubs and the Reds didn't excite me, but it's a great thing, and it gets a lot of attention, and it's a good idea. Rob Manfred finally had one good idea, I guess, and they know how to do it right. They did it. They opened it kind of with the Griffies coming out, Ken Griffey Jr., and they did the whole end of the movie Field of Dreams. Hey, Dad, you want to have a catch thing, and really tugs at your emotions, and it just shows you baseball goes beyond just a sport. It's really a kind of emotions tied to it too, and especially if you remember back when you were a kid and playing a catch with your father and things like that, and taking him to the ball games and him taking you to the ball games. I remember just not to get off the subject, but I can remember when I got season tickets. I was able to afford them, got season tickets, and I'd have one open, and I could actually take my father. It was a big thing for me because I remembered all the years he had to take me and drag me as a kid, and the stuff he did, and put me on his shoulders to watch a game because all they had were bleacher seats or whatever, or standing room only. So it was kind of a cool thing when I was able to take him to a game, and that kind of the Field of Dreams games kind of brings that all back, that those old emotions about baseball and what it really means to us.
Yeah, it sure does. And the thing that struck me, and I only watched a little bit of it as well, due to the matchup again, you have the Midwest, the breadbasket match up there with St. Louis and Chicago, which, is a great matchup. Don't get me wrong. But, on the East Coast or the West Coast, you may not be so interested in it. But I like the way they had the camera angles in that game and just the way the field turned out on television. It looked really good. You knew there was something special about it. And they're out in the middle of nowhere, basically, in Iowa. And, it's like you said, it's all part of the game. They had the throwback unis on a little bit there, Cincinnati, and the interviews on the field with Joey Votto and the Griffies taking part in that as well. So it was a great thing for baseball.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that Cincinnati chose the 1919 throwback unis, uh, uh, being that was the Black Sox scandal when they won the World Series, Cincinnati, against the White Sox. Or did they? I forget who won that. But I see how it happens when you get old. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that they chose to wear that uniform, playing the Chicago Cubs too. So maybe they should have had the White Sox and the Cincinnati Reds, and both wore the 1919 uniforms. But the White Sox were in last year's game against the Yankees, so I guess they didn't want to dupe them 2 years in a row. But have there's been an announcement of who's playing next year? I did not see that.
Did not see it either, but living in the moment and enjoying it for what it was great, I think. And I really enjoyed that movie. It's one of my favorite baseball movies overall, amongst a few of them. But just to see, the wide open cornfields in the background, it gave you a little sense of one, how big America is in the Midwest and how open it is. We sort of live in somewhat urban areas, so to us it's a stretch, But to see the
Yeah.
cornfields and that set that existed in the movie almost come to life and have a major league game there, that's really an accomplishment for Major League Baseball.
It really is, and it's a smart thing for Major League Baseball. To take advantage, if you will, of that. But they had this beautiful site. The owners or whoever purchased it from the original owners had the foresight to keep the original field, and then MLB hooked up with them, built another field. Um, and for this purposes, for these Field of Dreams game, but um, it really is a cool thing. And then when the people walk into the stadium, they got to go through the cornfield and stuff. It's pretty neat. It really is pretty neat. And the only thing was, I don't think that in those throwback unis, I don't think the original unis had the Nike swoosh on it, and well, the new era flag on the side of the hats, which is kind of a. I think if for something like this, they really should go completely authentic. But hey, what do I'm nitpicking now, and but yeah, it's a good thing for the game. It really is. It kind of breaks the season up, and does just some cool things.
Yeah, I bet you Cooperstown, New York wishes it could have parlayed a game for that town. Could you imagine the amount of millions of dollars that would roll into Cooperstown if the MLB said, okay, we want to set up a game in Cooperstown, which would be a great idea as well. They have plenty of room out there. Call it the Hall of Fame game or something. This is something baseball can build upon and give people
Well,
more of a tradition.
they used to. I mean, they used to have a Hall of Fame game every year around the induction time. And the thing that happened, I think, was that a lot of the big stars wouldn't show up. So um, they kind of discontinued it. But they always had a Hall of Fame game. And it gave the people, but that's a small Cooperstown Doubleday Field is really small there, so I don't know, what else they would do if they could. I don't know if they'd be interested in building a new field. By the way, there is not going to be a game next year.
Oh, going to
Uh,
skip it. Very interesting.
let's see.
I did hear that they were possibly thinking of making a more permanent type of stadium in that area, so maybe
Yeah,
they're going to do that.
that's what I think it's going to be. They have a construction plan includes adding facilities to house youth baseball and softball, and the work will begin this year and extend into next year. Um, and because when they built it, like last year, for last year's game, I don't think they did some of the things permanently, which to me was stupid. But I think they did it like they were doing the armed forces games and stuff. They
Yeah.
put up a temporary stadium, and I think they did that with this, only in an older style. They're using more wood and things like that. And I think they had to fix a lot of that. And now it says they want to do other work, so it won't be next year, but they probably will bring it back in 2024. I hope they do. I think it's a good thing for the game, and I don't think baseball harkens back enough to his history. The Mets are bringing back Old Timers game this year, Old Timers Day, which was always a fun day. I always loved it because you'd see all these. Yes, they were old and fat, but you read about these guys, and then to see them, the ones that were still alive, to see them in person again. Yes, they were elderly, some of them, but it was still great to see them. it's hard to explain, but I think you see you would understand because you went to alumni weekend last weekend at the Philadelphia game, right?
Yes. Yep.
And it's the same kind of deal. You want to see those old players again, and we don't really care what they look like anymore. We don't care that they're not in shape, or you just want you.
And the 1980 team was not in shape. Let me tell you, I felt bad for them because 40 years since they won the championship. So if they're 30, they're 70.
Yeah,
If they're 35, they're 75. Well, things change when you're 75. Canes. I felt bad for, they couldn't play a game on the field, these guys. No way.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it was nice to see them, as you said. That these are legends
Exactly.
of the game, legends of your own team.
It's
That you
yeah.
follow.
And as a fan, I think the legends of your own team sometimes are more important than the legends of the game because there are so few legends of the game. But every town, every city, every franchise has its folk heroes for whatever reason.
Right.
Like I give you an example. The latest folk hero in New York now is Daniel Vogelback. And because he doesn't look like a ball player. He looks like, I don't know, John Kruk after a buffet stint or something.
Right.
But, but, he's a good ball player. I mean, he's hitting. He made that mad dash from first base. He scored on a double, and he's got a unique running style, and he's a big guy, but he moves pretty well. I got to tell you that much. I was surprised how quick he was for a guy that size. But he's become a folk hero here in New York and in Queens, around the Mets because people love him. So now it's Vogie. Everybody loves him. But that's what happens, and it's great to see these guys. A couple years ago, the Mets had the 50th anniversary of the '69 World Series team. I remember those guys in their prime. Was it sad to see Bud Harrelson, who suffers from dementia, look a little dazed and confused? Yes. But it was still great to see him. And I had the honor of seeing him in person a couple of weeks before that thing at the City Field. It was. I've met Art Shamsky, who's gray and he's 73 or 74 now. I've met Ed Kranepool, who's in his 70s, and but it's still a thrill, and I think that's what people are looking at. It's like Arnold Palmer didn't want to play golf when he got older in the major tournaments because he didn't want to embarrass himself. I understand that, but people wanted to see him play. They didn't care how he played. They wanted to see Arnold Palmer on a golf course, and that wait for that one great shot he would make in a round. Instead of the 20 he used to make, he might only be making one now. But that's what people wanted to see, and I think sometimes the players they have to understand that, and but that's why people like nostalgia so much. And baseball is full of nostalgia. It's a game of nostalgia. And like you said, it was great to see the alumni weekend guys, the 1980 world champions, and it'll be great to see the old timers game at City Field, and it's just it's the history of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be heading up to City Field this weekend to see your favorite Mets take on my Phillies. Probably going to be a good game. Game 3, the Sunday game.
Is that a night game? No.
No,
Is it?
that's afternoon. Should
Okay.
be afternoon. But
Should
yeah,
be. Let's hope they don't change it.
I can't wait for that. Another story out of New York. We might as well stay in New York. Keith Hernandez making the news. And this was funny to me, really. He says he doesn't want to broadcast Phillies Mets games because he doesn't like watching them play. So I figured since you're in New York, you have the in on this. You know exactly what he means.
Well, he he clarified that a little bit, but I think he, at the same time, I think he muddied the waters. He says he wouldn't be at this series um, because of they're having a 40-year reunion in the Cardinals of their World Championship team, so he'll be going to that. Uh, but he essentially said that he doesn't like to see the Phillies. He loves Philadelphia. He loves. He goes, oh, I love that. I love going to the stadium. I love the broadcast booth and everything. He goes, he doesn't like watching the Phillies because of their lack of fundamentals. Fundamentals. And if you know Keith Hernandez, he's very big on the fundies, as he calls it, and doesn't feel like Philadelphia has it. And he just cringes when he watches teams that don't perform fundamentally sound. So that's basically it. Um, I mean, it wasn't nothing about the fans. It wasn't anything about the city, because they are playing in New York. It's just that the team is. He just cringes when the fundamentals, but he even said, I believe he said that he likes their lineup. They can hit, but he said the fundamentals just get to him. And
Yeah.
um, Keith is an outspoken guy. He says what he wants to say, and sometimes it gets him into trouble. And this one got him into a little bit of trouble. But as you said, I think it's more good natured, and he kind of laughed it off, and so we'll see if it goes anywhere. I'm sure if he's on schedule for the broadcast in Philadelphia, he will get booed lustily by the
Probably.
Phillies crowd. But he did go on to say he loves going down there. It's nothing like that. It's nothing against the city. It's just that he thinks the Phillies don't play good fundamentals, and he's a stickler for that. So
Yeah, I can
that's
appreciate
basically
that.
it.
It still comes out of left field to hear an announcer say that, but maybe it's going to light a little fire under the Phillies. I know they've had
It
an
might.
injury or two going into New York. Home run hitter, the big home run hitter for the Phillies, will be off tonight on Friday night, the first game. Kyle Schwarber with a calf strain. He may miss the whole series in New York, they are saying, but we'll have to see. The pivotal series between these two teams this weekend.
Yeah, it's a big series, and they're all big now. Once you hit August and September, so especially in your division, I was looking at the schedule for the Mets, and it gets easy for the Mets, and nothing's easier this time of year. But we will be playing a lot of those teams that they didn't play earlier in the year, and some of what they used to call second division teams, and it's just the way the schedule worked out. They went through the rough stretches, and this probably still have to play the Dodgers again, and there's another couple of rough stretches. The Yankees they got to play, and the Phillies and the Braves. But they have some games with the Cubs and the Pirates who they've not played yet, and so we'll see what happens. But what about the Atlanta pitcher saying that the Mets were getting a lot of hits, lucky hits, in August, but not in October? And I thought that was really,
A little
um,
strange.
a little strange. Why would you want to? They've got a 7-game lead over you. Why would you want to piss them off? And let's face it, they beat him into the ground. Okay, did a couple of balls land? Yeah, okay, they did. But luck is part of the game. Wasn't it lucky last year when I'm sure you got a lot of lucky hits last October in the playoffs on your way to the World Series, Atlanta, and yeah, Mr. Strider with the cheesy looking
Yeah.
mustache. Look, dude, shave it off. It doesn't look good.
That that's
Uh,
a baseball mustache. That's
oh, but that's a baseball.
these.
No, but he's got to have the curls on it then, or something. That's like a that's the '80s porn star mustache there.
But I think he's a
Uh,
rookie as well, is he not?
well,
He
I don't know. You
debuted.
should
He debuted in October of 21. Yeah, he's a rookie still.
keep your mouth shut.
He's a
You
good
know,
pitcher, by the way. I hate when he
he is a
faces
good
the
pitcher.
Phillies.
He is a good pitcher, but he lost. I mean,
Yeah,
whether the ball dropped in, they got some lucky hits. How many games have you seen in your lifetime where the Phillies lost because somebody got a lucky bloop single or something? It
yeah.
happens. That's part of the game.
It's part of the game, and it's especially part of the game in the playoff times. Every little
That's
base hit,
right.
bloop. I mean, you get on base however you can, and yeah, that's part of the game.
That's right, and it's part of making contact, and that's what the Mets are doing. That they're making contact this year, and they're getting these breaks. The balls are dropping in. I mean, nobody didn't say anything to Mr. Strider about when the Braves won 14 in a row and got back in the race. That they were beating up on the Cubs and the Pirates and the Nationals. They didn't pay anybody above 500 in that, or they played one team in that streak when they won 14 to get back in the race. Otherwise, they'd be like 20 games out of the race now. So I don't want to hear this. I hate to hear this kind of bull crap because, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're shooting off your mouth because your team just got their asses whooped, and you know it, and you know you weren't the better team that weekend. And I hope that they whoop him again next week when we go to Atlanta. I hope he gets bombed, and I'm talking about like 8 runs in the first inning would be quite lovely. You know, for me against this guy, and maybe that'll teach him a little humility and to keep his mouth shut.
He set off a little fire under you, Gary.
Yeah.
how,
Well,
how about this pitcher?
it's so stupid. Another guy with a big mouth, but let me see some pitching to uh, to to back it up. And
Yeah.
so what is Philly trying to do? They trying to put together the 2015 Mets rotation? I mean, are they going to
Yeah.
trade for Steven Matz and bring Matt Harvey back?
Yeah, yeah, it looks like that. Zach Wheeler going Sunday for the Sunday game, but we got to face the 1-2 punch of the Mets this weekend. Max Scherzer on tonight, Friday night, and then Jacob deGrom on Saturday night. Wow, that's going to be a tough road to go down.
I'm laughing. I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I guess Sunday will be Bassett then, right? Is that the way it shakes out?
If that's
I,
going to be a good game if it is. Bassett and Wheeler.
oh, that'll be good. Yeah, that won't be too
Yeah.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
And then
cool.
you can hear the trumpets when Mr. Diaz comes in.
That'll be interesting because I hear about Diaz and all, but what is he taking on, like a cult status there in at
He
City?
has been unbelievable this season.
Okay.
You can even see it in his face,
Uh huh.
the difference, and it's interesting. His walk-in song is a song called Narco, and it's trumpets. I don't know if you've ever heard it.
No, I haven't.
Something like that. Anyway, I'm not going to do it. But it's very interesting, and now it's caught on. It's caught. People bring little plastic trumpets with to the ball game. They
Uh-huh.
got Mr. Met and Mrs. Met playing trumpets. It's caught on. It's become a thing. Um, so when
Pardon
he
me one
comes in,
second. You take
when
it
he
over
comes
for a second.
All right, I will take over. Well, we had some other stories in baseball too. Uh, Major League Baseball may be giving Rodolfo Castro a phone call, and Rodolfo Castro was the player with the Pittsburgh Pirates who slid into head first, and his iPhone popped out of his back pocket. Why he had an iPhone in his back pocket, nobody knows, but the league is now looking into this incident. Um, because he was technically in violation. I was just starting to talk, Rich, about the
The
guy,
cell phone, yeah.
yeah, Rodolfo Castro, and he may be in trouble for that because he's in violation of MLB's regulation prohibiting electronic devices on the field or in the dugout, with the lone exception being the MLB approved iPads. It is unknown if Castro will face discipline or not from the league. He expressed remorse for the incident, maintaining it was very unintentional. But I mean, come on, don't you know you got your, these guys have got all safes at every locker. They can lock this stuff up, and I don't know. It's just, what is he playing solitaire in a dugout between pitches? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's kind of strange. You know, baseball players know the rules. They can have iPads in the dugout, but you can't bring cell phones on the field. I mean, imagine a fielder out there getting a call or something, or talking to a stockbroker or whatever the case may be. It's
Yeah,
just like
well,
a gym. You can't talk on the phone. You can't even have your phone.
and imagine if this guy had slid correctly on his butt and broke that phone. I mean, we're talking about $800-900 or whatever. These guys have the top of the line phone, so they're not trying to get the freebie phone with a plan or something here. So pretty stupid. I don't know. You never see that in our day, of course, but then because we'd have to have like a payphone attached to our butts, in my day. But I just think it's kind of crazy. It really is crazy. And how do you not know those pants are not baggy on these guys nowadays? So how do you can't feel that thing in your back pocket? I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But we'll see now. Will he get in trouble or not for that?
I'm sure he will, as you said, because there are rules against it. So be looking for that pretty soon. And you're watching the video version of our show here, but did you know we started out as a podcast? You can go over to our website at anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show. It's all one word. And there you will see this page if you're watching us on the video, the main page of the show where we host the shows, and it gets distributed from here. So from here you can support the show. Hit this button right here just one time, and you can become a supporter of the show for just $1 a month, $5 a month, or $9.99, whatever you want to choose. And you can process it through a debit or credit card. You can send us a message, a voicemail message, right through the site here as well, and find out where we are across the internet as far as our podcast is concerned. We're also on YouTube. Gary mixes up a nice video show every week, so check it out. Baseball Talk Radio Show. We're all over, and we're trying to expand more and more. So tell your friends about us and think about supporting us.
Yeah, and like Rich said, we do the audio version as well, and it's on numerous podcast outlets, Spotify and Google Play, Apple Pod, wherever. So go check it out there, and if you just want the audio and the videos on YouTube, so go check it out.
Yeah, you'll
Please.
find us. You'll find us there. And I got this little picture here for you, Gary. There's your 1-2 punch there.
Well, let's see. Hope that they stay healthy. That's what we want.
Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer on a picture here that I'm showing on the podcast from the New York Mets Twitter. Says the 1-2 punch, and isn't that true?
Yes, it is, and it'll be quite a punch in September and October, hopefully, and let's hope we make it to November because the World Series is going to be played in snow this year. So, uh,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Game 1 is October 30th. So,
Yeah, it's a late start. That's incredibly late. I can't believe they would do that. Bad scheduling on the
well, we forget we had the lockout at the beginning of the year.
right. So it's pushing
So
it back a little bit.
it pushed everything back, but we forget that lockout already because it's been such an interesting year.
Yeah. And before we do the standings, don't forget to check out the baseballtalkradio.com site. Baseballtalkradio.com. It's about 40 of the best internet shows talking about baseball, independent for the most part. Some of them are professional. Our favorite shows are on there. This show, Gary's Mets Musings, Phillies Talk Podcast, Baseball and Barbecue with Len and Jeff, our good buddies, Gary's great friends. And Baseball PhD is one of my favorites with Ed, Farley, and Mark over there. Baseball PhD podcast. So check it out all at baseballtalkradio.com. Gary, why don't you take the AL standings?
Well, Rich, nothing really has changed much from the last show. Yankees is still up there, though they've run into a little bit of a problem lately. 2-8 in the last 10, but they still got a big 10-game lead over Toronto. Tampa Bay still in it there. Baltimore's got to be the story of the year, Rich. 5 games over 500. I know they're 12 and a half back, but what a great story. What a turnaround for that city. And Boston brings up the rear. How about those Cleveland Guardians? They snuck in. Minnesota's been in first place most of the season in the AL Central. Now the Guardians have snuck in, and they've opened up a 1.5 game lead. That'll be a great race. The White Sox are back in it. They're only 3.5 back, so any one of those three teams could win that division. So that'll be something to watch as we go down the home stretch. And in the West, of course, Houston's got an 11-game lead over the Seattle Mariners. And then it is the rest of that division with Texas, the Angels, and Oakland bringing up the rear, and they're pretty much out of it. So Houston and Seattle there. That's pretty much it for the American League. Rich, how's that in National League looking?
Your New York Mets are sitting on top of their perch there in the NL East still. Atlanta 7 games back. Mets are 8-2 in their last 10, 6 games in a row, winners of 6 in a row going into the series tonight with the Phillies over the weekend. Phillies holding down third place, though they have climbed nicely above 500 now for a change. A good amount of games over 500, like 12 games over, something like that, 13 games over. So it's pretty good for them. They've exceeded expectations so far, and we'll see if they can get into the playoffs and see what happens then.
Mm-hmm.
But over in the NL Central, it's St. Louis with a slim 1-game lead now over the Brewers. Half a game, actually. That's a tight race there. And Chicago, a distant third, 15 games back.
And that St. Louis and Milwaukee, they keep flip-flopping, so that'll be another great race to watch as the season goes on.
Yeah, both Central divisions look like they're up for grabs at this point of the season, and we're turning the three-quarter turn. If this was a horse race, we'd be at the top of the stretch pretty much here.
Yeah, you're right.
Turning for home here. But New York doing well. Out west, it's L.A. The L.A. Dodgers 77-33 on the season so far. an incredible winning percentage of 700 at 10-0 in their last 10. You can't get any better than that.
Jeez.
San Diego, I saw a game between the Dodgers and San Diego. They go back and forth. They're natural rivals out there. 63 and 51, 16 games back behind the Dodgers. They'll never catch the Dodgers.
And San Diego might have won the trade deadline, but it hasn't really propelled them, uh, you know, so much, knocking that lead down at all. So 5-5, their last 10. Yeah, they've been adding those guys didn't help as much as we thought it would.
Yeah, and these, at least initially anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting because as you can see, if you're watching a video feed, we have the page up here, a bunch of superstars on the page lining it up there for the Padres. But yeah, as you said, they haven't translated it over. Well, tonight is Apple TV night for baseball, and I know a lot of people out there have mixed results and mixed opinions about it. I like it. It's free, number one, on my Apple TV. At least they give it to you for free. I don't subscribe to it, but I believe they would let anybody watch it, which is a plus. And the clarity and the video clarity is just unequaled, in my opinion. I haven't seen a better feed yet.
Well, yes, I agree with that. The clarity is something else, and the equipment, whatever they use, is quite good. It's the announcing that's horrible, and it just takes away from the whole game. It kills it and makes it unwatchable. So, is the Phillies and the Mets on Apple TV tonight?
The Phillies and the Mets are on. They have several games that they broadcast that you can watch each week on Fridays now. It's not just one nationally televised game, it'll be several games going on at the same time. So that broadcast crew that you mentioned will, be at a different game maybe for this one. So can't wait
God
for it.
only hope so. But if that was their number one crew,
Right. I'm
like,
not sure. I don't know much about the cruise, but I'll tell you the clarity is amazing when you watch it from
it
home
was.
on the 4K TVs. It almost looks like you're there in person.
As long as they don't mic up Juan Soto again, we're okay.
Yeah. And him begging for Apple things. But anywho, we're coming up against the end of this program for the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Don't forget, hit subscribe, like if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook. Share us with your friends. Put a comment down underneath the broadcast and say, hey, check it out to your friends. And that's going to let your friends know, hey, John Smith is watching the Baseball Talk Radio Show. So maybe it'll get us some more watchers. So check it out, and we thank you for listening as well.
And tell your friends and family to take a gander. We think you'll enjoy it. We try to put together a good, entertaining show, and um, you know, we try. So, uh, take a listen and take a watch, and like Rich said, hit that subscribe button so you'll always know when another edition of the show is coming out.
That's awesome, Gary. Great advice. Well, it's nice to talk to you on this edition. We're going to disconnect here from the Facebook feed in just a second here. And, I think I just paused it. So we'll disconnect from Facebook. Thanks for watching, everyone. And, Gary, you have a great week, and we'll talk to our listeners next week.
We'll do the same. You do the same, Rich, and we'll see you next time.